I remembered to turn the air conditioner off today, so. Also, I'm probably gonna have a smoothie in my teeth. We are going to be talking about all of my favorite tips, tricks, and techniques that I have been using to make myself a better writer as someone who is a new writer. Let me know if this sounds like you. You start writing, or you wake up, you have a story idea, or you just really want to learn more about this world of creative writing. And you get on the internet, you start searching, and you are inundated by all of these tips. Everybody has a bit of advice, and it's all different. If that sounds like you, leave me a comment. Let me know you relate. I know it's not just me out there that feels this way. So when I was really getting into my writing a few years ago, I was really not sure where to start. So I turned to YouTube, I turned to AuthorTube, and I started watching videos and kind of getting craft books and taking in all of the advice out there. But today I want to share the things that have actually worked for me to make me a better writer, to make me a more productive writer, and to make me more confident in my ability to write. Hi there, if you're new, welcome back. If you're coming back to my channel, my name is Darian. I am a 30-something mom of two, military spouse, and social media manager by day, who is also an aspiring writer. I'm currently working on my serialized fantasy web novel called When We Were Legends, in which a retired adventurer must once again take up her weapons along with her friends to uncover the truth about her daughter's destiny. It's got prophecies, it's got friends to lovers, it's got enemies to lovers, it's got adventure and quests, and I am about to wrap up the first draft of the first arc. So that's very exciting. I have a whole writing vlog playlist just dedicated to that project if you want to learn more about When We Were Legends. And if you have never seen my face before, or have never subscribed before, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bells. I try to post a new video every Friday. I'm a mom, so things get crazy. I'm a military spouse, so things get crazy. I'm not always consistent, but I'm trying. Leave a comment, introduce yourself, boost me in the algorithm. I would really appreciate it. I am trying to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, and I would love to do that by the end of this year. We are so close, so I think it's really doable. Yeah, so if you like this video, if something resonates in this video with you, definitely share it with your writing friends. And yeah, that's it for my little spiel. So let's get right on into my tips, tricks, and techniques that have got me into writing better. I realized this water bottle is sitting here instead of the cute stack of books that I put on the other side. Peep, fourth wing back there. She's my bestie. We're still obsessed. My top tip for any new writer is to learn how to write a log line and a blurb, like a very short blurb, sort of like what I gave in the beginning of this video about When We Were Legends. I learned this tip from Jessica Brody's Udemy course called How to Develop Blockbuster Ideas That Sell, which I highly recommend. It's usually on sale, super affordable, and I really got a lot of great tips and techniques from that class. Jessica Brody, if you don't know, is a best-selling author. She's also the writer of Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and she's coming out soon with Save the Cat Writes a YA novel, a young adult novel. So definitely a great resource. Check her out if you are unfamiliar with any of her writing mastery classes. Highly recommend that one. Basically, a logline is a one-sentence summary of your book that entices somebody to read it. So this is something that is really quick, sharp, to the point, kind of like an elevator pitch. So again, my elevator pitch for When We Were Legends is: a retired adventurer must once again take up her weapons in order to discover the truth about her daughter's destiny. Gives you pretty much a general idea of what the plot is going to be. You know there's going to be a quest, you know who the main character is, you know what her motivations are, etc. from that first line. And so once I learned how to do that, I basically, anytime I get a new idea, that is the first thing that I do. If I don't have any other information about a story idea, I will develop the log line. One thing I really like about having the log line is that as a new writer, I would set out to write a story about one thing, and then the story would transform into another thing. And it wasn't that the story was transforming in a way that was keeping in line with the original idea. It would not look like the original idea at all. So the log line helps keep me focused and centered on that story idea. So I love, love, love coming up with a log line. Like I said, it is now one of the very first things that I do. And after I have the log line, I will then take the log line and log lines don't mean that you have to have everything figured out. For example, I will give you the log line of my like cozy cottagecore romance, magical romance, as an example of one that I don't have all the answers to. So it says, after inheriting her late grandmother's belonging, a blank, because I don't know what her profession is, returns to the island where she spent her childhood summers and reconnects with her first love while uncovering the magical secrets hidden within her grandmother's possessions. So again, gives you a general idea of what the plot is going to be about and what the story is going to be about and who our main character is. I don't have all the information figured out because I'm still developing the characters, but that logline gives me just enough information to keep me focused on what the story is about, and so that I can share it really easily with other people and they know, hey, I'm interested in that. And then from there, I will go on to develop a 1-paragraph summary or a blurb. But here's an example of what extending that logline into a blurb would be for When We Were Legends. So again, the logline for When We Were Legends is a retired adventurer must once again take up her weapons in order to uncover the truth about her daughter's destiny. And then the 1-paragraph summary, or what I call the blurb, is after the death of her dearest friend, Sylphina Bronzewater vowed to leave her life of adventure behind. Now retired, she and her husband live safely tucked away from the world. But when a prophecy is delivered on the eve of her daughter's first birthday, Sylphina must face her fears and travel to a place to seek the guidance of Elxifa, Laren's lamenting mother, the only person who can truly decipher what the premonition means for her daughter. And this is a blurb that I wrote before I started drafting, so already I've seen that a couple things of these have changed, or the story has extended beyond this. So like what I'm talking about here is like more of like the whole series as a whole versus like what the arc that I am working on right now is. So that lets me know that I need to go back and rewrite this for that. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of an example of the logline versus the blurb, and these words are like interchangeable, so you might hear somebody call it one thing and somebody else call it something else. My battery is dying, so that's cool. But yeah, I cannot stress enough how much this has helped me. And I do it, like I said, for everything. It is one of the first things I do when I get a new story idea. So if you want to see like a step-by-step walkthrough of how I do a logline, how I do a blurb, etc. for a new idea, let me know, and that's definitely something that maybe we can work on together. The next thing that is kind of like a step-by-step process, if you want to know like a sneak peek into my writing process, comes immediately after I have done the logline and the blurb, and that is that I have found that I am way more likely to have success plotting a book if I outline in a 1-page synopsis format. Now, unfortunately, I can't give you any examples of this, but there are tons of great resources out there about how to write a 1-page synopsis. I know Alexa Dunn here on YouTube has a really great video, so I will leave that linked down below, but I most recently did this for the first time with my cozy magical romance, the one that I shared the logline for. And I found it so helpful because I wasn't like worried about, oh, well, what's the inciting incident, or what is the point of no return, or the dark night of the soul. I just could kind of like discovery write the 1-page synopsis and go from there. And then that would be able to inform my beat sheet or plotting method of choice moving forward. Working on a serialized project has enlightened me into the ways that I am a discovery drafter, but I do like to have a bit of a parameter for what I'm writing. And I think that's why the one-page synopsis works really, really well for me. Now, I haven't started drafting this project yet, so I will give an update once I put it into a plotting method and start drafting that project and put it to the test. But I really think there's a lot of benefit in just slowing down. I feel like everybody wants to jump right into the Save the Cat beat sheet or the, hero's journey or the snowflake method or whatever. I actually got the one-page synopsis from the snowflake method. And this is why I think it's great as a new writer to kind of immerse yourself in writing craft books and understanding different writers have different processes, because then you can take and pick and choose what works best for your writer brain, essentially. So the one-page synopsis is nothing new. In fact, a lot of agents and publishers will ask for a one-page synopsis at some point. So knowing that information up front is really great to have as a guide for your plotting or even your drafting, if maybe you're not so much of a plotter and you just want to dive into drafting. So I will report back once I start drafting that project. But the logline, the blurb, and the one-page synopsis are definitely things that I'm going to be doing for every project, from the get-go, once I have all the pieces that I need for those things. And the other reason that I think this is great for newer writers is it doesn't take a lot of brain energy or brain power to do the logline or do the blurb or do the one-page synopsis. For example, the other day I had my kids homesick and I just banged out the one-page synopsis for this story, and I had just been brainstorming it. So I'm not diving into drafting and I'm drafting another project, but I can still take the time to have these log lines and blurbs and synopses ready to ready to go, so that when I am ready to draft the project, I'm ready to draft the project. And so I just recently got a really cool new idea that I'm obsessed with. And so I plan on putting it through this method as well before I start drafting. And I will probably start doing that when I switch to the romance, switch to drafting the romance. So that way I'm my brain is still I got 1 foot in fantasy, 1 foot in, commercial romance, or whatever. I don't even know what it's going to be. I don't even know the genre because it's got magical elements and it deals with themes. It's going to be kind of literary. I don't know. That's a story for another day. We will talk about that project in the future. But I really think that this 3-step approach before starting your draft doesn't have to happen before you're starting your draft. It can happen as you're drafting something else and need a break from it, etc. Next thing, and I feel like this might be really controversial. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody really say this specific piece of advice. When you're a new writer, you get a lot of, writing advice just write, or write every day, or do writing exercises, or things like that. For me, what was really helpful in honing my writing and my writing routine and building my confidence as a writer was writing really, really messy first drafts. You're gonna do this. It is inevitable as a writer. I cannot tell you how many projects I have written and finished or gotten almost finished and shelved. And there's a part 2 to this, which is that you just need to finish something. Learn the art of finishing. But, there is something to be said about letting go of the perfectionism, of the what ifs, of the pressure to write this amazing, incredible piece of literature, right? And just letting all that go and just writing a really crappy first draft of whatever the heck you want, basically. I used to be so paralyzed. As somebody who has an English degree, I've done a lot of literature studies. I've spent extensive amounts of time studying Shakespeare and Fitzgerald and, Hemingway. And I used to be crippled by the idea that like, is that the ultimate goal? Like, is that the level that I want to attain? This like prolific idea of the next great American novel. And when I realized, I remember I was having a conversation with my friend and I was like, all of these, you know, they're all white men. Like, they're all old dead white men. Especially like it is a myth. Like, the next great American novel is a myth that has been perpetuated. And I feel like that could put a lot of pressure on new writers. I don't have to be the next Hemingway or Fitzgerald or whatever. I just have to write for me, and I just have to write for the girl that I want to be reading my stories, or the person that I want to be reading my stories. You know, I'm writing this for me, and I'm writing it for them. Like, what do I want them to take away from it? It doesn't need to be, you know, Fitzgerald level. It doesn't need to be Hemingway level. It just needs to be for that person. And once I realized that I was, in fact, not going to be the next great American novelist, it really just like took a burden off of my shoulders, and I went to town. I've written so many messy drafts. I can't even tell you. I think I wrote 3 novels. Like, I got into 3 novels before I even finished one, and that was during NaNoWriMo 2021 when I finished my first novel. And I immediately had to scrap that novel because it just like did not work. But I'm learning. Every word I put on a page is part of the learning process. And every novel you finish, even don't finish, every novel you get into and shelve because it's not working, is an opportunity for you to learn. So I've learned, you know, more about plotting by writing. I learned more by doing, and I definitely see that reflected in my writing. The more I go through the writing process, the more ideas I try to turn into actual tangible stories and writing projects, the better I'm getting. So let go of the perfectionism. I know it's hard, but just write the crappy first draft. Just learn how to finish a novel. Learn how to finish, it doesn't even have to be a novel. Learn how to finish a scene. Learn how to finish a chapter. Learn how to finish a novel. Learn how to finish a short story. Like, learn how to finish a project, because that is what's going to ultimately motivate you to keep finishing projects. We'll get off that soapbox for a moment. I feel like that is a whole other video. Maybe I just need to have like a little podcast segment where we just talk about writing things like that. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But yeah, learn how to finish, learn how to write the messy first drafts, and just do it. I kind of mentioned this already, but try different routines and processes until you find what works for you, and don't be afraid to mix and match pieces of other people's routines and processes into a thing that works for you. So I have done this a lot with my own process, and I'm still doing this a lot with my own process. I like to try out new things that I hear people talking about, new ways that they're working through their projects, and really just watching a lot of YouTubers and learning about the processes of well-established authors, and reading craft books and listening to interviews by authors. I love it when author tubers do like writing routine videos. I don't know that I will ever do like trying so-and-so's writing routine, but I'd love to watch those. And so watching those really gives me different ideas. And I think there's a lot to be said for trying out all of those ideas, because ultimately the goal is to find what works best for you as a writer, because you're not, you know, Sarah J. Maas, you're not Leigh Bardugo, you're not Margaret Atwood. So parts of their process might work for you, and it's okay to take like one thing this author does and one thing this author does, and then, you know, meld it into your own thing. And that is really, I think, key to finding how your process works for you. And this tip, again, I don't know that I've ever really seen anybody talk about this, but when you get into the writing community, especially here on YouTube, you quickly realize that we are obsessed with word counts. And that can be a lot to take in as a new writer. So probably one of my biggest pieces of advice, especially maybe if you're not good on a keyboard, like I'm really fast, I can type really fast, which helps a lot with my word count. Or maybe you like to write by hand. So my biggest piece of advice is to ignore what other people say they write in an hour. So like, or in a writing sprint, and find what your baseline is for your writing sessions. So for example, the next time you sit down at your computer to write, or you sit down at your desk to write in your notebook, set a timer and see how many words you write in that time frame, and then repeat that a couple days in a row to kind of see if you can find a baseline. For me, I know that I can write about 500 words in a 25-minute sprint, which is about 1,000 words an hour, or I guess it's less than an hour, you know. So that is my baseline output, and I know when I'm going to exceed that, and I know when I'm not going to exceed, like when I'm going to be underneath that. And it really helps to take a lot of pressure off as a new writer, because I don't need to write 2,000 words a minute, or a minute, that's impossible. I don't need to write 2,000 words an hour. I know that I can write 500 words in a 25-minute block pretty consistently. Like, it's rare that I don't hit that. So I know that if I can write 500 words in 25 minutes, it's going to take me 120 25-minute writing sessions to write a 60,000 word novel. So do you see how like that can kind of give you a baseline? Not only does that help you understand like what your speed is and like how quickly you can finish, but it also lets you easily like mark out blocks in your calendar to write that. I'm confident I can find 25 minutes a day to write 500 words. And if I can find seven pockets of 25 minutes to write around 500 words each session, that's 3,500 words a week that you can write towards your novel, which means that it would only take you 17 to 18 weeks to write a novel if you're doing that consistently. So once you understand your baseline output for writing, it really, really does help you see the overall picture of your writing timelines and your writing goals, and see what's working. And you also have a baseline to see like, hey, I can write 300 words in 25 minutes, but I'd really like to write 500 words in 25 minutes. Or I can write 500 words in 25 minutes pretty consistently, but I'd really like to stretch and be able to write 700 words in 25 minutes. So you can really play with your motivation and getting into a routine and really like stretching and working those writing muscles to improve your writing. All right, everybody, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this was a little bit different, but I really was just thinking about these tips this week and wanted to share them with you guys. So if you did, please let me know that you enjoyed them. Leave your tips in the comments below. I love seeing us collaborate in the comments, and I'm always looking for new tips and stuff to incorporate into my own writing practice. So definitely let me know your tips below, and I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you later. Bye, guys.